an alien invasion. Is it biblical? Of course it is.
Clearly, I'm not here today as a fact witness.
You can Google it.
I think you just use the Bible, do whatever the hell you like.
Just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Welcome to Mystery Bible Theater 3000. My name is Caleb Haig. With me, of course, my lovely assistant, Rob Vanhoff. I got a cold today. Let's see here. It looks like Rob is frozen. Hang on just a sec. Hang on, I got you. Uh-oh.
It is cold here, though. I do say that.
There you go.
For freezing.
All right. Yeah, I got a cold today. Makes me sound very radio-esque. I'm okay with that. Well, we got an interesting one today. It's been
you could do smooth jazz, man.
On Cool 95.3. Yeah, so have we ever done Paleo Hebrew on here? What are we at? We're at like 35, 36 episodes, 37, 38, something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But I'll tell you what, we got a good one today. This one is a good one. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Should we just jump right into it?
Let's hear it. Let's
go. We'll kick over here to a better view for our listening audience. And I'm going to come over here. Here we go.
In the beginning. Okay, let's pause right there and look at this in Hebrew. The Hebrew word for beginning is this word right here, bereshit. And remember, they read from right to left. So we will break down every letter together. So from right to left, this is the letter Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, and Tav, which spells bereshit, which means beginning. The letter Beit, or B, means tent, and the letter Resh, or R, means the chief, the head chief. Together, BR is read as bar, and together it means son. The letter Aleph is kind of like a vowel, and it means Adonai, so we'll do a heart for God.
I love the music.
The letter Shin means to destroy, so it's kind of like, looks like a claw, so that's how I remember it. This character means hand, the letter Yod. And this last character is Tav, which is T, and it means cross or covenant. To summarize, Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, Tav spelled Bereshit, which means the beginning, and it's already forming a sentence. The Son of God destroyed by his own hand on the cross.
Oh, man. I don't know who this lady is. Yeah, so this is apparently... Yeah, okay, here's the thing. You know how, like, sometimes people will be like jokingly would be like, what kind of witchcraft is this? Right? I actually think that this is like getting into Christian witchcraft. Like it's a Christian, like...
Yeah, it's letter mysticism.
What?
It's where it's divination by symbol divination.
I really want our audience to forgive me for this, but what the hell are you talking about, lady? This is so ridiculous. It's so out to lunch.
What the hell?
What? Yeah. Okay. Let's not even. All right. So I've done some work for you. I've done some work for you, Rob. I've found out that R means head.
She's a doctor. Is she a doctor?
No. I don't know.
Paleo Hebrew.
I don't know who this. Probably. I don't know who this lady is. But I've done some work. Turns out that Resh, or R in the Hebrew, is head. O, or Aleph, is ox, and Bet is house. So your name, Rob, is actually the head of the ox in the house.
Yeah.
So do with that as you will.
That fits.
Of course. Now, my name is a little bit different.
Yeah, you're Kaf Lamed Bet.
Well, yeah, but
so you've got a house in there.
Well, I put a Aleph for the A because obviously as a vowel letter.
The Kaf is this. It's the palm of your hand.
No, it's so according to the chart I found, and of course they're all different online, but it is son. Kaf is son. Aleph is ox. Lamed is staff. ayin is eye, and bet is house. So the son and ox on the staff of the eye in the house. Of course, this is, I mean, does anyone...
No, I know what it is. It's you know what you are. You're like at Indiana Jones where he sneaks into the thing and he has the thing on the pole.
Right, exact. Boom. There you go.
That's
See?
you, man.
Man, yes, exactly. Here's the thing. Does anyone legitimately believe that this is how language works? And at any point in time, how moronic. I mean...
Yeah, I just say, God have mercy on her soul.
No offense to this.
I mean, this is leading people to think stupidly.
But somebody taught her this nonsense. I mean, this lady's
there's
ignorant.
People who've published book after book after book.
This lady's ignorant, but the point is that there is someone. Pardon me.
It's not her fault. Seriously, are you okay? This is teachers. There are teachers out there that are spewing this. And so she's just jumping into the marketplace of bad ideas.
Right.
And selling bad ideas. And it's awful. I've talked to people the same way. They're like, oh, the house of the chief of the ox of the...
Does anyone... I don't even understand the theology behind this. Are people... like this young lady sitting there believing that Moses was in his tent, he's got quill in hand or whatever, right? He's sitting there and he's like, okay, now beginning ox head, is he going through every single letter and hypothesizing what the secret meaning is? No, of course not. No. So then, okay, well then theologically, do people who believe in this nonsense, are they thinking that God is the one who secretly put this... At what point does a person believe that this is how language worked?
This is Kabbalism does the same thing. This is Christian Kabbalah. She doesn't know that, but what she doesn't know is that this is what Jewish Kabbalists do. They take the letters, they move them around, they add them up, they put them into a calculator, they swap them out according to certain little decoder ring, things that they get from the bottom of, cereal boxes.
Cracker Jack boxes.
It's Cracker Jack Bible. This is Cracker Jack Bible reading.
Well, we got a message.
We need like a Cracker Jack sound clip.
By the time this video comes out, we'll have talked about this in depth on our large show on Wednesday. This video will come out 2 days later. Rob doesn't know we're going to talk about this. Okay, but somebody left us a message. And they basically said, look, you're ragging on the Hebrew roots movement all the time. And I don't get it. We'll read the whole comment on the large show. But basically the comment is, I don't get it. You got people who, they love the Lord, they love the Torah of God, they're keeping the Sabbath and the festivals. You all agree that those things are important. Yet you rag on the Hebrew roots movement all the time. Whereas the Christians, they believe that the Torah has been done away with, the sacred Sabbath and the festivals have been done away with, the kosher, they're eating pork, and yet you're defending the Christian church more than the Hebrew roots movement. And this, and what I'm going to give grace on that show. You'll see me give grace and say, yeah, I think you're right. Maybe we've gone a little bit too far in that. And we'll talk about that. Okay. We'll talk about maybe we've gone too far in that direction. However, with that said, here's a perfect example of the reason why this nonsense is leading people astray in ways that is unbelievable. It's taking out the foundation of the Bible. You're taking the sacred scriptures and basically saying you can make them into whatever you want. Whatever you need the text to say, you can do that. With the Paleo Hebrew, with whatever you want, Aleph Tav, anything like that. There's all this Jewish mysticism, and the leaders should know better. The leaders should know better, but they push it anyway. They push this nonsense anyway. And to me, what's more egregious? The Christians who have been fed a bowl of lies and are feasting on that bowl of lies, or the Hebrew roots teachers who have just said anything Jewish is good, and so we're going to take all this Jewish mysticism, which is essentially occult, and we're just going to teach it to our people. Which one's worse? And I think that this is one of the reasons that you see me rag on the Hebrew roots so much, is because you get nonsense like this. This is absolutely asinine. Language has never worked like this. Now, granted, maybe back when the Hebrew was beginning to be formed, you had people making symbols for certain things and then connecting those symbols. But even then, from the very beginning, you have what we call an abecedary. They're using letters to form other words. But
language, the Bible is spoken, right? I mean,
right.
They heard the 10 Commandments,
right?
And Moses wrote them down. So you'd have to say, okay, so actually God wrote them down.
Exactly. I was going to say God wrote them down.
But the letters reflect what the words mean, right? You remember the Sabbath, for example, or honor your parents. That has meaning in a conceptual, syntactic, sentence, grammatical language. Words don't have meaning. Meaning has words. So it's all those letters and the spaces between the words and the verbs and the nouns and all that stuff goes together as a coherent meaning as a whole.
Right.
And you take the different letters could come or go, and the meaning would have integrity. And so, but these people are not thinking from that level of meaning. They're thinking of the letter. They've been taught, sadly, and they've been enthusiastic about this idea that each letter has a mystical chemistry property set, that when blended with other letters that have other chemistries, you make new little molecules, and then magic things happen. And you can predict the end of the world and stuff like this. And that's so bad. It's awful. Yeah. It's crackerjack theology.
This is, I mean, if you look at Judaism, and I think that this comes from ultimately, I think what this comes from is the need to maintain Judaism. And the reason I say that is you have the Mishnah come along, okay, and they're making all these laws. And then the Talmud comes along and they say, well, how do we connect all these laws to the written Torah? So they start to try to do that. Once Jewish mysticism comes along, they have to try to connect all these things to the written Torah. Well, what if the written Torah doesn't say what we need it to say? There's a secret meaning. There's a deeper meaning. And now we'll show you that secret and deeper meaning. Ultimately, I think what the most egregious part of this is that ultimately, Paleo-Hebrew meaning, all this kind of stuff, comes from a want to let the text say whatever you want it to, as I've already said. The problem is that the Messianics and the Hebrew rooters, once again, anything Jewish is good. And this even comes down to when Israel is following after the Baals. When Israel is worshiping false gods, the Hebrew rooters and the Messianics are going to say, oh, great, let's do it with them.
Yeah, I think you're onto an important thing that I don't see. Now, history unfolds, as it is. We can't go back and change how things developed historically. But hypothetically, could you imagine Christians coming up with this kind of interpretive quote nonsense if it hadn't already been in like a Jewish Kabbalistic thing?
I don't know. The Christians come up with some pretty nutty
because
stuff.
Christians wouldn't even look at the Hebrew. They wouldn't even know what Hebrew was, right? They wouldn't know. I look at it like this. I look like the Christian church and the Hebrew roots as like two different people. Like the Christian is like a person who trusts trusts their doctor with everything. And then, but the Hebrew roots is like the person like, no, I'm only eating organic. I'm not eating any sugar, and I'm not going to go to the doctor no matter what. And I'm going to heal my own self.
Look, you have no arms left. Yes, I have.
What?
Look, it's just a flesh wound. In other words, I'll put some salve on it. It'll be all right.
Right. It's like so you have like the people say, I ain't trusting doctors ever. They're lying. Those are like Hebrew roots. Like, I'm not trusting a theologian ever. Why should I trust a church? Look at them. And then but the other people, like in both cases,
it's too far.
There's a sickness that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I would rather, and that's the choice. It's like, well, am I going to hang out? I've got Christian friends who are of a Reformed view, but they have in my opinion, overestimated view of tradition. They have a mix of tradition of man that's interfering with hearing some very deep, resonant frequencies that are clearly in the scripture from my view, but their ear can't hear it, right? It's like they can't hear the cellos that are there because they're just tuned to listening to the trumpets and the violins or whatever. And then you go to my friends who are like Hebrew roots, and they're like, oh yeah, we love, organic food and we don't eat hydrogenated, oils or high fructose corn syrup. And we try to, whatever, but they don't have a sense of a problem of, I like, they don't have the,
aren't those people
a
little bit,
it's like, they're like, oh, free will,
but aren't
like,
those,
they don't like, they're like, oh yeah, I make a choice. It's free will,
They're a little bit like the climate people though. And the reason why is because they're like, hey, we gotta cut down on all oil, right? But what they don't realize is that the electric car that they're driving, the Bible, is actually interpreted by scholars who are Christian scholars, right? Like it's translated by Christian scholars. So it's like the car, they don't realize that it takes so much gas and everything to get the batteries to power the car.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I asked that, someone posted a thing to me and they're like, oh, well, the scribes changed the text. Like that, like they changed. And I'm like, okay, well, what scribes do you listen to?
Right.
Like, who are the scribes that preserved your Bible that you're reading? Like, what scribes do you trust? Do you have an alternative set of scribes that preserved an alternative Torah that you are now the master scribe so you can correct? Like, and you don't even know Hebrew, by the way, and you're correcting Hebrew scribes? Like, wow, you must have like a high level of competence.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that, I think that I don't know. Ultimately, this comes back to the same thing that so many of our Mystery Bible Theater 3000s comes back to. Can we trust our Bible? And according to this mythology, the answer is no. We have to get extra meaning out of our Bible. And
well, okay, let's say this lady, can she just keep doing the whole Torah? Like, what's she going to come up with? No, you know what? Because she's going to get to a word and she's going to like, oh, I don't know.
Did Jesus do this? I don't see Jesus being like, hey, you heard it said, Bereshit, which means
years ago, I think it was way back Rob and Caleb show. We did like the 7 rules. Like, it's like, did Jesus teach this way? Did the apostles teach this way? Yes or no? Did anyone in any of the prophets teach this way? No. When did people start thinking this way? Recently or ancient? Recently. Okay.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Somebody might say, well, look, we're not getting extra meaning out of the text. We're just showing you that Christ is
What's
in
there. It's there.
It's already there. And my point is, if that's the case, why didn't Yeshua come and say, look, the very first word in the Bible prophesies me. It says this, Bereshit. Now let's break it down letter by letter. He didn't do that. Why? He didn't have to. The scriptures are full of prophecies of the Messiah. Why do you need Bereshit to say that? It doesn't say that. You're making stuff up. Just go to the text where it says that he's coming. That's it. Go to Genesis 3. That's all you need to do. You don't need to make stuff up. It's absolutely asinine. The worst part is, who's this lady's pastor? Why is he letting her do this?
She's probably heard another YouTuber say it, and I don't know any of this is original to her. I mean, I don't know for sure,
of
but
course
I would say,
not. But the point is that you're
Lou White, 30 years ago had his little chart. When I first saw it, I thought that, that was it. It was like, oh, this is how you read the Bible,
dude.
You look at the bet is a house, right? The resh is a head, the aleph is an ox. The shin is teeth or whatever he had. Yod is a hand. And it's like, you go through and it's like, oh, secret Cracker Jack box decoder ring. Yeah. Right? That's what it was. He's a Cracker Jack theologian.
That dude is a Cracker Jack. By the way, just so everyone knows, we're not just dumping on Lou White here. We have invited Lou White to talk with us about Hebrew and about his theories. And he has said no. So we're not just, anyway. The thing is, I mean, think about this. You're a pastor. Somebody sends you this video. It's a lady that's in your congregation. That Sunday, she walks in. I mean, as a pastor, are you just like, okay, well, that's Jenny. That's Samantha. That's what she does.
Right.
Or are you like, yo, let's talk about this and your mystical Jewish nonsense meanings of the word. I have to assume, maybe not. I have to assume that a lot of pastors would be like, yo, what are you doing here? But maybe not. All right, that's it. Thank you, Erna Draper, for sending this video in. Love it. And boy, the videos just keep rolling in for this, which is great. We got a lot to talk about. But I think it ultimately all comes back to biblical truth, like the Bible, the inerrancy of the scriptures and interpretation of the scriptures. All right. That's going to do it for us. Don't forget to catch us on Wednesdays, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, live YouTube. And yeah, of course, this show
if we ain't got it, it ain't holy.
Yeah, exactly. Every Friday, 9:30, we put this show out. And yeah, we'll see. You can send your videos to chagatorresource.com. chagatorresource.com. We will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
We don't got it, it ain't holy. I love that. That is so good.